Welcome to Wake, a cold reading of James Joyce's Finnegan's Wake, just to hear it out loud. Join Toby Malone and TJ Young, along with some special friends, as we puzzle our way through what we once thought was an unreadable book to produce a surprisingly listenable podcast. It is Friday, February 28th, 2025. It has been 289 days since we've started reading, with 590 pages complete of 628, meaning we have 38 pages left to go and are 93.95% of the way through Finnegan's Wake. Welcome to episode 38 of Wake, the podcast that is blowing out candles, making wishes, and reflecting on time passing by as we inexorably near fulfilling a long-held bucket list item, reading James Joyce's Finnegan's Wake out loud just once. I'm your host, Toby Malone, joined once again by the man to whom we wish the very many happiest of returns, TJ Young. Hi, TJ.
Hi, Toby. How's it going?
Good. Happy birthday.
Thank you so much. I started the day at the dentist, like any good
Of
birthday
course.
should start. Like we said, I bought my own cake for rehearsal tonight. But I will say, Taylor, he showed up with key lime bars, which key lime is my favorite dessert, and also like special macaroons for me. So I came back from the dentist to sweets. So it's been a pretty good day.
Amazing. And of course, we've talked about this before, that your official birthday was actually the 29th of February, but you celebrate
Correct.
today 3 years out of 4.
Yeah.
But that means that you are a leap baby. You are the leap girl like Issy.
Yes, I am.
Is that right? Yeah.
I am the leap girl. That is now my new tattoo. Forget everything else from this book I
There
thought
you
about
go,
tattooing on
the
my
leap
body.
girl.
Leap girl is what it is.
Oh, and I can see we have a guest here who is just straining at the bit, wanting to say happy birthday to TJ, but she has very good podcast etiquette. She's waiting to be introduced. So I'm going to relieve of her misery, and I'm going to introduce one of our most beloved guests, back by popular demand, the third time around, and we love having her here. Acclaimed author, international Joyce scholar, wonderful all-round person. We have Lucy Brazier joining us once more. Welcome, Lucy.
Thank you so much. That's slightly over the top, but I'm going to take it. And I have been sitting here waiting to wish TJ a very happy birthday all the way from the UK.
And I appreciate it so much. Again, this is the first time I've heard happy birthday from two different continents at the same time. Or countries, not continents. We're in the same continent. It's been a long day.
Yeah, for
We're
now.
here for now,
Yeah, so welcome, Lucy. It's so good to have you back. Last time we saw you, we were on the Aunt and the Grasshopper and talking about all sorts of filthy insect porn. I'm not sure I can promise you the same kind of level of filth, but probably.
Real quick, if I could, as I got into the car this morning, Lucy, I did think of you because I was listening to a radio show, and what happens, but a scientist who's talking about the interesting nature of bug sex.
I'm so pleased that reminded you of me. I can't think of anything else I'd rather be associated with. That's beautiful.
Oh,
Magnificent.
Well.
It was actually pretty great, Apparently, there's a bug where the male, whenever he is ready to have sex, he creates something called a matrimony bundle, which is a third of his body weight. That then the female eats while they're doing it, and it's just like, if we had to do that,
perfect. I'd be in for that totally.
Yeah, sex and snacks.
Give me the matrimony bundle of a third of the body weight of my mate that I can eat during relations. It sounds incredible.
If we jump back to the Aunt and Grasshopper, Joyce has probably referenced that because I'm sure he knew all about it because he's a filthy little man,
but an educated one.
Very much so.
Yes.
Absolutely. I'm sure that's what he was referring to in that passage.
Absolutely. And before we came on the recording, you were saying that you've been seconded to a library at your university, so you and I are both working in university libraries this week, which is delightful.
Exactly. So I feel like we're sort of colleagues for a period of time, which is magnificent. Once I got up there, actually, that was my first thought. Is like, I must let Toby know I'm working in
Yeah,
a library. So,
it's it's the
yeah,
best.
any secondments in Canada, I have
Hmm.
1 day's experience in a library. I'll be incredibly valuable.
Yes, but you're also a widely published author, and your books are in the library that you were seconded to. That must be fun to know that your books are there on that shelf.
Yeah, it was really nice actually. I didn't get to visit my own books in person. I did get to visit the Joyce section,
Hmm.
as I just sort of disrupted the whole library into maybe everyone should read James Joyce immediately.
Out of
Um,
interest, how large is the Joyce section at the Northampton University Library?
I'm not going to lie, it's not big.
Mm.
The University of Northampton's not a big university, but it is small and perfectly formed. And the Joyce
Just
section,
like you,
yeah,
right?
exactly, that's right.
I thought that was what you're leading us towards. So
Well,
yeah.
yeah, I was just setting that up. Obviously, you could tell. But yes, no, the Joyce section is reasonable. I mean, it's got all his stuff in there. There's a few
Hmm.
copies of each. I'm just trying to make sure now that everybody knows it's there.
Right, but Finnegan's Wake is not well thumbed. I'm sure. I'm sure it's.
No, I mean, I took it out once, and I think
Hmm.
maybe I'm the only one that did. There is, there's some accompanying sort of, text notes that go with the books, which are quite interesting, which perhaps I should read at some point. But I think just the one copy of Finnegan's Wake, though there were a few copies of Ulysses, and now there's one less copy of Ulysses.
Mm.
As I've convinced somebody to take it out.
Oh
So
yes, excellent.
yeah,
Well,
I've done my bit there.
I thought you were going to say because I stole it.
I
So
stole it.
I hid it.
I hid it. How awful.
So we're it's a really nice. I mean, we're going to get to the reading in a little bit after we've chatted some more, but we are beginning book four, which is the final book of Finnegan's Wake, and one of the points of why we have got you in today, Lucy, is because book four is not long. It's only 38 pages long. That's right, based on what we've got left. And so we wanted to make sure that we brought you back for one more reading because we loved having you in for book two and for book three. We didn't know you when we were doing book one, but how do you feel about coming back for book four?
Do you know, it is a massive honour actually for coming back for book four. I totally have understood. I know you've had a lot of very illustrious people on your podcast, and for the final book, I would totally have understood if you had somebody sort of a little bit maybe more knowledgeable than my good self.
Oh,
So
that is hardly the point.
it's an
I mean,
we are
absolute
loyal
honour.
if nothing else. Trust us.
Well,
absolutely, and we couldn't imagine book four, the last two episodes, without you and then Neil, because you've been along with us the whole way, and so.
absolutely.
Uh,
Well, I will bring plenty of enthusiasm.
mhm.
And yeah, I'm absolutely delighted to be back for book four. Superb.
Yeah, yeah, it's so much fun. And one of the things, if you haven't listened to previous episodes with Lucy, Lucy is the author of a wonderful book published in 2018, which this is how we got to know Lucy online, which is called Finnegan's What? Finnegan's Wake: A Guide by an Idiot. Um, which it makes me laugh every time I see that title. Of course, Lucy's no idiot, but the title certainly makes people buy books, and so that's very smart. And so, Lucy, you wrote this book. Basically retelling Finnegan's Wake with absolutely no research and no forethought or preparation, just telling us what you think you got out of it, which is even braver than what we're doing, which is talking about it. You wrote it all down and exposed yourself to to the criticisms of the purists. Uh, but yeah, so I mean, those who haven't heard about this book, what's been the reaction to the book over the years?
I mean, surprisingly successful. It was done sort of for my own entertainment a little bit. I did it between writing books in my fiction series, and I did it just to sort of pass the time. And I published each chapter on my blog, just to keep people updated what I thought of this book. So, and it went down quite well on the blog, which was good. Little niche following, very lovely. And I just thought a couple of years after that I'd pop it all together and put it together as a book. And yeah, it's clearly not the sort of definitive guide to Finnegan's
Hmm.
Wake, but I think what it does have is that kind of everyman appeal that you can just pick up my book, get a bit of a impression of what maybe the book might be about. It's certainly just my interpretation of it and my experience of reading it as well. And it's, yeah, I've been really surprised how well it's gone down. It's opened sort of lots of doors. Obviously, here I am now on your illustrious podcast, which would never have happened without that. People have taken to it really well. It's really
Mm,
nice.
that's wonderful.
I don't want anyone to pick it up thinking that they're going to find any great insights or, the key to this incredible tome, but it's certainly a start.
Yeah, well, you're certainly not pretending that this is the definitive version, not like Joseph Campbell with his skeleton key, which is essentially useless because it's saying this is what we think it is. And then you go, all right, well, that's not how I interpret it because there's infinite numbers of interpretations. And so just like what we found on this podcast, um, you can have so many interpretations
Oh,
of
I
this stuff.
think however you read it, that's right.
Hmm.
Whatever you get from it, that's the correct interpretation. It's a magical book. It really is like no other. I think there's no right or wrong way to read or interpret Finnegan's Wake, and that is why it's so beautiful. Whatever you get
Exactly.
from it, that is what it was meant to be for you.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to getting into talking more about it. And we'll get a little excerpt from Finnegan's What before we do the to the final reading today. So we'll look forward to that. It's another kind of auspicious day is that they've been teasing me about how they keep adding bonus episodes, keep pushing everything back because I don't want this podcast to end because this is the second last reading episode and the fifth last overall episode, I think, as far as I know, maybe I don't know, fourth last, whatever it is. But if you count all the bonus episodes and you add them to the regular episodes, this is episode 50 of Wake. So we've had 50 episodes of the podcast. I can remember the first one like it was yesterday. Um, it's really flown past. So how do you feel? I mean, so TJ, you have a podcast. I mean, are you up in the 200s now for
We are at
GNWKS?
198.
Oh,
We're
that's right. I
close to
knew it was coming.
200. We're super close to 200, and that took us like 5 years to do. So,
Yeah. Wait,
but
am I going to be on episode 200? No way. You
you might
must.
be.
Oh, I know I'm coming up in a couple of weeks.
You might be on episode 200. I have to look at the
Oh,
numbers.
okay. I don't expect to be. I fully understand if you have a special guest that day, but if I am, I'm very honored.
First off,
I'm,
no one's more special than you, Toby.
I'm
Second
very
off,
happy to be in
Make
201.
it
I don't
happen,
mind.
TJ. Make it happen.
I was like, second off, I too can create bonus episodes and move numbers around. No, but I think that the difference between those two is that with that show, we just record weekly, right? And it is what it is. And sometimes during the holidays, we don't record. During the summer, we give ourselves breaks, things like that. But there have been times when you and I have, been here 3 days in a row. I mean, 3 days within a week. And this also has a very finite ending, right? If I ever stop the other podcast, it's because me and Jordan have gotten tired of each other, really and truly. But I think that this actually has a more sentimental value to me because it is the completion of something that we knew was one day going to end, right? It's kind of like when you start a company, you never really foresee when you're going to close down, close those doors. You're like, and this is my lot in life. But we always knew it was finite within the confines of our goals in interacting with this book. And, I haven't addressed a novel with this much rigor since graduate school, really.
Hmm.
Um, because, nowadays, if you're reading a book and you get a third of the way through and you're not feeling it, you could just be like, and it's gone. I'm not going to read this anymore. But, I this has been like a small mountain for me, and so knowing that we're close to the apex of it is really great.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's not really something I really believed that we could get there, but I also then couldn't quite picture not doing it. So, um, So the fact that we're getting close is pretty gratifying. So yeah.
And you know
So
what? The fact that we have met people like Lucy along the way has actually been even more beneficial. You know, it's hard expanding your circle as an adult.
And if you go on the internet and say, I like weird things, does anyone want to be my friend? Then you're just going to end up in all sorts of
you're just
trouble.
asking for trouble.
It's
Yeah.
really not ideal. But the Joyce community, safe to be with.
Yeah, it's a good way to weed out the weird weirdos. You get the good kind of weirdos who
It's
are
good weird, good weird.
yeah
Yeah.
yeah. There's lots of ridiculous stuff on the internet that we can uncover. One thing I found this week is that I don't know why I I found it, but speaking of strange things on the internet, I was looking for something else regarding the wake, and I might have just searched for Finnegan's Wake, Joyce. And AI, you know how Google now gives you the AI overview
Mm-hmm.
of anything you put in, and it's like,
Yes.
here's what AI thinks of that. Well, I'm here to say that AI is nonsense, because here is what the AI overview of Finnegan's Wake is this.
Oh,
Ready? In Finnegan's Wake, James Joyce describes the fall of a former Wall Street man. And then the next word is the first thunder word. And that's the entire AI overview.
yeah. I
So
like how it's missed the point entirely, but also kind of it's sort of Joycean in its own way.
yeah, so Wall Street,
Mm.
I guess Tim Finnegan falls from a wall and into a street,
Into a
and he's a
street.
man, and then the thunder word exists, I guess. But basically says he describes it as Baba Badal and the rest.
I don't
um,
think we need to fear our AI overlords quite just yet.
I think that yeah. The internet is a place of chaos. Let's just be real. The other thing I found the other day when I was trolling around the internet is I had a moment where I was doing something else. I can't remember what I was doing, but I suddenly struck me. I was like, oh, has anyone written Joyce fan fiction? um,
Oh, tell
yeah.
me they
Oh
have.
yes, they have. So I'm sure you're familiar with an archive of our own, which is the premier fan fiction community on the internet. So it's funny. I was talking to someone the other day at work. Maybe this is why I went there. Is that I did a whole section at library school on AO3 on fan fiction as sort of expression as part of a library course, and so we spent a lot of time looking around at there, and for better or for worse. But there's a lot of Joyce themed fan fiction on AO3. There's 560 stories tagged with James Joyce in them, and there are 18 of them tagged with Finnegan's Wake. And best of all, my friends, I'm here to say that there is one filthy, porny fan fiction that is tagged as Finnegan's Wake and SpongeBob SquarePants. It exists. It's out there, and I will link to it in show notes because everyone needs to see it.
Yes, I've had fanfic written about my books, about the
Oh,
Portugal books.
amazing! I thought you were going to say
Yeah,
about you in particular, but yeah, Portugal fanfic. That's great.
yeah,
That
that
means you
was quite
created a
cool.
world people want to play in.
Yeah, I mean it was rubbish, but I really, I, I was
Oh, I love
really
that.
touched that people did that. So yeah, I thought that
Oh,
sort of cemented my place in the sort of niche fiction world, I thought. So yeah.
oh man, that is crazy.
Yeah.
I just love the fact that you acknowledge someone's fan fiction they wrote about you because they admire you, and then you pulled the rug out by saying it's
I'm
rubbish.
just glad it wasn't better than my own, but
Yeah,
I
it's
was
like a
really
kid coming
happy
home,
about that. Yeah.
like a 6-year-old coming home from school and saying, "Daddy, I drew a picture of you," and you're like, "Well, what's that? Come on, that's trash."
Who is this? Yeah.
Oh my goodness, I love it. I love it.
I,
And
I
then
I appreciated the effort.
yes, absolutely. That's
Mm.
that's the best. And then the other point of fan fiction that I wanted to bring up here, I put into the chat just there. TJ can see it in the document, but Lucy, I've put that there for your
Oh,
benefit.
I see.
Is that is a we looked at Laszlo Moholy-Nagy's sunburst diagram of the wake in the past, but then I also found this portrait of Joyce that was created by Constantine Brancusi, who is a Romanian-born artist, this is a portrait of Joyce. And Joyce loved this portrait. He said, "This is me. It's exactly who I am." Lucy, can you describe this portrait for us?
Oh, wow. Okay. So we have a short straight line, a long straight line, a spiral, and then another straight line. I am looking at the right
And
thing.
you are. This is the
And that is the
and
perfect portrait of Joyce.
that is the portrait of Joyce. So yeah, so when Joyce loved it, he called it Brancusi's whirligig. This was so they were commissioned by a bunch of American expats when they were putting together limited editions of excerpts from Finnegan's Wake, and so they included these. Brancusi called this the symbol of James Joyce, or also called Portrait of the Artist. And apparently, when Joyce's father saw the image, he was showing it. He said, "Oh, Jim has changed more than I thought."
That's such a dad thing to say.
Yeah, that's it.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
marvellous. I mean, yeah, could be my new
Yeah.
tattoo. I like
It's
it.
really interesting. Yeah, Brancusi explained the image to a friend of his, Jacques Herold, and he said that Joyce is like that. He departs from one point and you'll never meet him again. So isn't that
Wow.
interesting? It's very deep and a bunch of spirals and
Yeah,
interesting.
no one's ever drawn a picture of me like that, so I've got some way to go before I reach
Exactly.
those
And then
heights of
when
being an author.
and then when you do, you're going to privately say on a podcast that you think it's rubbish.
It's rubbish, yes.
I don't look anything like that.
Yeah, what's that? Go
That's
back
ridiculous.
and try again.
That's it. So amidst all of that, we have a reading to do. So we go straight to the Penguin Modern Classics edition of Finnegan's Wake and talk about what they say. But before we get to that, I'd like to see what is said in Finnegan's What. So on page 120, Lucy, I'd like if you could just read me a paragraph. The first paragraph of that chapter would be very useful, just to give us sort of a lead into what we have to expect from this chapter. So if you can read just the first paragraph.
The first paragraph.
Just the first paragraph, just as an introduction.
Book 4, the final chapter. Everyone take a nice deep breath. This is the final chapter. Although, if you are hoping for any kind of resolution or explanation, you will be disappointed. In fact, as far as final chapters go, it is a little disappointing all round.
I love that.
Insightful.
It's more insightful than the Penguin Modern Classics. And I mean, it's fine. Like, we love you, Seamus Dean. Rest in power. And and of course, we have our enemies at the Oxford World's Classic who put together these summaries. But in their infinite wisdom, for the first time in their entire edition, their editor needs to be thrown off a bridge or something, because for the first time, they offer no overview of this section. So they don't give us a summary of the section. They just give us a granular breakdown analysis that we see at the end of the ring. So I'll read that at the end. All is to say, the sun is coming up and morning is near. But really, I think Lucy's summary is just about as good as we can hope for. Today we'll be reading the first part of chapter 4.1, the final chapter in the book, from pages 593 to 613 in this edition. And so we'll come back to the Oxford World's Classic at the end, and we'll make fun of it when we get there. We'll also hear a little bit more from Finnegan's What, and hear some more interesting insight into what we've read as we get to the end. But now, without further ado, Finnegan's Wake. Sandhias, 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 calling all downs to Dane. Array, surrection. Ire weaker to the walled bluden world. O rally, O rally, O rally, flanksty, O rally. To what life like thine of the bird can be? Seek you so many matters. Haze sea east to Oceania. Here, Tass, Pat, Staff, Waff, Have, Blove, and Rutter. The smog is lofting. And already the old you man has gotten up on other times to lightenate the bonamores. Son fine, som fin avant. Good morning. Have you viewed Piers Aub? Thane ours are gone. We have used yours up since we have used no other. Calling all Danes to dawn. The old breeding breasted commonwealth of natures to foin MacCooligan. The leader, Securus jubilens albas temorum, Clogan slogan, quake up dim dusky, wook doom for husky, and let Billy Fegan be bawled out of his humiliation. Confidential to Churchin, we have highest gratifications in announcing to pew tutor publicums of pratation pratey users, Genghis is goon for you. A hand from the cloud emerges, holding a chart expanded. The ever sower of the seeds of light to the cold old souls that are in the dominatory of Deathmut after the night of the carrying of the world of newers and the night of making mess, to cuddle up in a coddle pot, Pooh Newset, lord of risings in the yonder world of Tamplin, top triumphant, speaketh.
Va, sovereign sir, scatterbrand to the renueller of the sky, thou who agnetest. Da, Arcturus coming. B, verb unparticipate through the transitive spaces. Kilt by Celt, shall kith again with kin again. We elect for thee, Tertangle. Sphadasia salve. We Durbliners thee adjure. Away the Margan from our Astamite, through dim dom dun, till light kindling light has led we hope us, but hunt me the journey on, itinerant, the Cal his course, amid the cemetery of Somnionia, even unto Heliotropolis, the castellated, the enchanting. Now, if soon one felched to twirl, and sooman and less, what at watter we could, while you was saying Morcut Mary or Smud, Brunt, and Robinson, make sunlike, sylph om, this warful Doon's Batam. Yet clarify begins it. Whither the spot for? Whence the hour by? See but, Leverhulme, take in. Rest passers should be persecounted. Qui statbat mines quantum qui stabat piens. As of yours, we are new. Our shades of minglings mingle them and help horizons. A flash and, rash, it shall come to pash, as hearth by hearth leaps live. For the tenderest stock, with the rosinos top, I'll hence hill, club pubber, in general stores and. A trith through woods, Lurk the Brathwacker will be the listed after, and he larruping sparks out of the teeny ones. The spear spit of dawnfire to touches ain't the table stone ath, the centre of the great circle of the macroliths of Hellas Bellis in the Bohemian brush. On this a peneplean by Fan Galovu bite, whence the horned cairns erge. Stanstead, a florin froen, idols of Isthmians, overwear. Gaunt, grey, ghostly gossips growing grubber in the glow. Past now pulls. Cur one beast, even Dane the Great, may trespass, with sniffer he snout, impursuant to bylegs. Edhar's chuckle humoristic. But why pit the cur afore the knocks? Let shrill their dwern Gallus, Han and she how the Sasquehenna makes ducks runs at crooked. Once for the Shattermail, twice for the Poither, and once, twice, thrice for the Wather. So an indelible yellow meat turns out the invasible blacketh. Quat thirsts to rob with the Aleman, sailor, a turkeyed trot to sea point. Pierrotes means Noel's bar and Julas punch, by George. If you've tippitaps in your head, or starting curses, Taylor, you're silenced at Henge Keoledge, Exmouth, Ostbees for Ost, boys, each and one, Death Banes and the Quick Quoke. But life wends, and the Doms spake. Wake, hill of the Hafid, knock and knock. Nashath gives relief to the landscape as he staunches his Lamu song unto Pon Gazelle Channel and the bride of the burn. Shinhai Sheikh is dotter than ever for a damsel wed her father. Lambell on the up! We may pleasantly heal the geoglyphs 29 ways to say good a bet, and wassing see soon live. With the 40 wonks winking, please me or much as too, with her tup. It's a long, long ray to Newelglen's premiere. For corpse, for steamfish, for confex, for bouillons, for smear sausage, for patates, for streaked pig, for men, for limericks, for waterfowls, for wagsfalls, for louts, for cold airs, for late trams, for curries, for curlews, for leekses, for orphanales, for tunnygulls, for clear goldways, for lung fortes, for moony haunts, for fair moneys, for coffins, for tantrums, for aramores, for waglugs, for rogues comings, for sly goings, for lax matches, for home smeethses, for quail smeeches, killalooly, tep, cumled, cromlech, top. Wisely for us, old Brutton has withdrawn his theory. You are absolutely right, aslumnum. But this is purporteroging, you poor paps. Namantanai. Sure it's not revying your. Amslu. Good also. We seem to understand a pad vellum tomes muniment, arans ducar, among horseshoes, charioteers, and etc. gonenius, bargain bout barrows, of fur and omner, since, even if, or although, in double preposition as in triple conjunction, how the modern research in the topea that was Mankylands has gone to prove from the Picalava present to the Maramara Melma that while a successive generation has been in the deep, deep, deeps of deeper Arras, buried hearts, a rest here.
Conquer Duke he'll do, svop. So let him slap the sap till they take down his shatter from his shap. He cansis, Phil stap. Thus Fark lacks the friar bird listening. Sid, the child, the natural child, the owned by the names of I, Woodby was kidnapped at an age of recent probably, possibly remoter, or he conjured himself from sight by slide at hand, for which the Taranton is lemon Limorange at Milk Goat fair messes, in full dogged his, sawed on a fall, pat the hundering, blundering, dunder funder of blunder sunder's manhood. Behold, he returns, renaisscent, fincarinate, still foretold around the hearthside at Matane effect, hail chimmers, ears kind, faux permanent, thumb in his mouth, a wike in wave resurging into trest, victus pointus hesternus, frostfath of solace, fram choicest of wheels with Warman and Sogans till Bandbar, burial arranging, under Articles 39 of the Reconstitution, by the Lord's order of the Canon Consecranable, uh, Earth lost that we thought him, Pesternost, the non-known warrior, from Tumbarumba Mountain, in presence of whole land slots. Forby, all the races, sire of Leary subs of Dub, the dig gains, wooden hedge as the hang out at, with Spanish oil full his engelach, the sauce nug nom sol fedol salamera monderman. The bigger bruiser, Furt and Fort, Gunner, the Gunnings, Gund, one of the 2 or 3 for fivest fellow a bloke could in holiday crowd encounter, benedicted by the barrel, kindlerkins, lids off, a roche, an oxmaster, a sort of heaps, a pamphletus, uh, vendivant, nivincivini, a hygienic contrivance so called from the editor, the thick of your thigh, your knocks, quiet, talking to the vicar's joy and ruth, the grin, void, and glue been broken by the Mayboyle guards, he, when no crane of Elga is heard, about to speak his lay, without links, without impediments, with Gigantoragirus, with free flaw for forms, Parasama to himself, at man as Everest, whom otherwise because no parlor as of old, but as of young and palatine, Whitelock not lacking, nor temper Solion, though he appears as funny color Estator some, but a quiet a big bug after the Delias. Place in spectrum sarcent, also the hollow ceased ex cavement, astronomically flabba-figured, as Jabud Vispa Vipa foresaw of him. The last half versicle repurchasing his pawned word. Soren split, and Patty patched, and before and to finish our pafun of a pafan colliding and Cadle Mick White, sure, straight, slim, sturdy, serene, um, Sathinical Swift.
By the Antar of Iasus, ruse made him worthily achieve inherited wish. The drops upon that mantle rained never around Fingal. Goot, Laughlin's salts will make a new man if any worn. So, Lamfada's arm it has coincidences. You mean to see we have been having a sound night's sleep? You may so. It is just about to roly holy over. Sab snap snap. Of all the stranger things that ever not even in the 100 and badst pagians of unthousand and once nice or in edis and oddus bokes of tome, dyke and hollow to be have happened. The entirities of lives living being the one substance of streams becoming. Totaled in told telled and telled told in tittle tell tattle. Why? Because, grace be gad and all giddy gadgets, in whose words were the beginnings, there are 2 signs to turn to, the yest and the ist, the right side and the wrong side, feeling the slip and walking up and so forth. Why? On the sword side, we have the Moskiosk Gin Past with its twin adjacencies, the bathhouse and the bazaar, alla halla halla. On the Spond side is the Alcovan and the Rose Garden, boony naughty, all pura puthery. Why? One's a pure puss, a story about breed and brig feeds and pericombating and couch, and others is of tholes and oob-worn buyings, dolings and chafferings and heat, contests and enmity. Why? Every talk has his stay. Vidnis Shava Sanjivana, and all the dreams perhapsing under Lux Loop at last are through. Why? It is a sort of a swig swag, systemy distemy, which ever a body you ever anywhere at all does. Why? Such me. And helps a drowse. Look! A shaft of chivalry in the act, analancinant. Cold sleuth, Vans, where did thoughts come from? It is infinitesimally fevers. Resty fever, risey fever, a coranto of aria, sleeper awakening, in the smalls of one's back presentiment, jip and again jeep, a flash from a future of maybe mayability through the winder of a wonder in a wilder as welter is a warble of a warble is a world. Tom. It is perfect degrees Excelsius. A jaladew still stilleth. Cloud lay, but mackerel are. anemone activicent, the temperature is returning to normal. Humid nature is feeling itself freely at ease with the all fresco. The vervain is to herald as the grass administers. They say in effect, they really say, you have eaten fruit, say wheat, you have snacked mid a fish. Tell wish every those personal place objects, if none things wheresoever's, and they just done been doing, being in a dromo of todos, without and abound to be your trowers. Forswandled, you held him by the tap of the tang. Not a salutary syllable sound is since. Instead, for a steer adrift with a draught. Noctambulum bumus wander towards the nil. Victorious Neanzus, Albert's Neantus. It was a long, very long, a dark, very dark, and all but unend, scarce undurable, and we could add mostly quite various, and summon what stumble tumbling night. Endy, he Cindy, Dew, thee has goning at gone, thee is coming to come, greets to Gaston, high to morning, dormity destiny, doom is the fast. Well down, good other. Now day, slow day, from delicate to divine devices. Padma, brighter and sweetster, this flower that bells, it is our hour or risings. Tickle, tickle, lotus spray, till here next. Adia. Take thanks, thanksdom, famous, in that European end meets ind. There is something supernoctural about whatever you called him it. Pan Pan and Vin Vin are not alone Van Van and Pin Pin in your Tamal without tears, but simply solely they are they. This utter followeth that odder fellow. Him Kim. Old yeasterloaves may be as stale as a stub, and the pitcher go to aftoms on the wall. Mildew, murk, leak, and yarn now want the bad that they lied on. And your last words to date in comparative acoustomology are going to tell stretch of a fancy through strength towards joyance, adiantance, where he gets up. A lay for a lay, a threat for a throat.
Tim, to them in ye sat loca, hearing the herb it orbs. Then's now and now's then intense continuant. Heard. Who having has he shall have had. Here. Upon the thuds tokes tuck. Chim, and it will exactly so fewer hours by so many minutes of the ope of the Deeren, of the Senite, of the Maenad, of the year of the age of the Mandamanvantora, of Cross Guy and Little Lady, a huggy bum, and our wee mother, Actaman house true with, and their childer, and their nepers, and their nepers' childers' nepers, and their chattels, and their severance, and their cognants, and their ilks, and their oughts, and their everything that will be was theirs. Much obliged. Time are they, but where, tho clerk? Whither a clonk? Vartman, see you not sue the faff they funded, our vatars that ard in Himmel, Harud Bathar Namas, the Gau, the Seatar, the Tiagara, the Leofant, and even Thirst was Arthar Vettels. Mid trefoil slipped the sable rampart, hoof, 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 hoof. Paddow, pudu, pedding, on fatter, fotter, fut. We are, signifying, if tongues may token, that primeval conditions have gradually receded, but nevertheless the emplacement of solid and fluid having to a great extent persisted through intermittences of solemn fulminants, solemn nuptialism, solemn sepulture, and providential divining, making possible and even inevitable, after his a time has a tense haves and have nots hesitancy at the place and period under a consideration a socially organic entity of a millenary, military, maritory, monetary, morphological circumformation in a more or less settled state of equinomic, equilibrium. Gammon, Gedge. No mo nor for me, lest that not be. Agnes Manlake, you just gat a tash of army on the stomach. To the agar at anchor. Aquotincts, seaworthy, lots thankful you. Polite pointsins, there's a tavern in the tarn. Tip, take Tamo Timone's topical. Tip, Brown yet Noland. Tip, advert. Where? Commun only bolo siro homnibant, even electing. The dart of desire has gored the heart of secret waters, and the poplarest wood in the entire district is being grown at present, eminently adapted for the requirements of panic stricken humanity, and between the goings up and the whole of the comings down, and the fog of the cloud in which we toil, and the cloud of the fog under which we labour, bomb the things to be dom, so that, beyond indicating the locality, it is felt that one cannot with advantage add a very great deal to the aforegoing by what, such as it to be, follows. Just mentioning, however, that the old man of the sea and the old woman in the sky, if they don't say nothings about it, they don't tell us lie. The gist of the pantomime, from Cannibal King to the property horse, being slumply and slopely, to remind us how, in this dreary world of ours, Father Times and Mother Spacies boil their kettle with their crutch, which every lad and lass in the lane knows. Hence.
Polycarp Pool, the pool of Enelavis, Saras the saft as, of Mu Dewey Marge, atween Deltas Pessimum and Sagittarianus Terion, wherein once we lave tis alve and vale, many hahing here from Hairwather of poodle bridges and a pass a bed, the river of lives, the regenerations of the incarcerations of the emanations of the apparitions of fun and nin and cletatabola, the congdomain of the alieni and a caressed aired race infestor of Libnud Ocean, Moy Lamore let it be, where all brugget near Sir tracking Vigging net Nisi Nisi glad sighted her Liffian fall, and a teen digging harrow turned the first sod. Sluss, Cotterect, God speed the blow. Incidentally, 'tis believed that his harpened before Gage's fane, for it has to be over this booty spooch, though some hours to the wester, the ex-colonial houses preterpost heiress is to return unto the outstretched disk of Dwyer O. Michael's loin sprung, the bluster busted pike head which he had hewn and hers prolonged laughter words. There an almondree begins to green, Soreen scene for love's seat, as we know that should she, for by essentials assistance is his law, so it make all. It is scanted to Vittelba, and her little white bloomskins, twitter sky trimmed, and hobgoblins hanky panks. Saxon Flaherty, our ancestors thought so direly on. Now they're going so over to Anglesey, free free of Judy's dright chappers. There too a slobs, immemorial, the only in all swap. But so bare, so bolder, brag sagging, such a burbly broom show that of Brendan's the white Alfred is owed to have at least so sir so butch up upron homo sicris Elochlanesis, his show place at Lembi, old woomy ways, poof, but while gleam with gloom swan here and there, this shame rock and that whimsy platter tell Pudheen steal the pogie and his party Molly Vardant and good Broomimish aura. This place is a proper and his feast a feral for cardinal communal. So be would who would celebrate the holy mystery upon or that the pilgrim from many lands beat hand, the calm-leaved, hut-caged by the look whose glom is sure he means Bisney glils to impalm mover. A naked yog priest, clothed of sundust, his okie dokie with fondest levers, offrend to the Ewan of her Owen. Tasyam kuru salile kruyami. Pufuf. Bring about it to be brought about, and it will be. Loke, our lake lamented, that great lack, the sight of ease is Isisat at last, urban and orbital, through seep forms umber under wasteris of Erie. Lao, huo, hui, dere maidens, astorares asai, earthsight to this heaven. Hill singles, the daughters of the cliffs, responsin, long some the Sampshire coast, from thee to thee, thou art if thou, that thou'st there. The like the near, the liker nearer. Oh, so say, a family, a band, a school, a clan, a girl, 15s and but 14s by Novens on Andor Vantas by Octatis Ayand Decadenkas by a lunary with last alone, whose every has hindered her different from the similes with her sight. Sicut campololia pet petalififerentis, thy choral and carol round Botany Bay, a dweam of dose innocent dearly dirls, Kevin, and they all sit on voices about sing music as Kevin, he, only he, it'll he, the whole clangalade. Oh, S. Wilhelminias, S. Gardenias, S. Phoebias, S. Ves- Vesladras, S. Clarindas, S. Emicolas, S. Dolores Delphins, S. Perlanthoras, S. Erins Grey, S. Ada Minervas, S. Rodamininas, S. Ruga Rugdagara, S. Drima Kumatars, S. University, S. Intergithemias, S. Misha La Valsis, S. Chernstri, S. Kluan Eskemes, S. Bella Vistras, S. Santamontas, S. Ringsinguns, S. Hedonin Drowns, S. Glockenvias, S. Wandenfrias, S. Thomas Besses, and Trim, Unload, Pipette, S. Lolistotolis, prayerfulness. You, that is you, what shall one name it eat? The mind, the Mindiongius have tinged togethering. Ascend out of your bed, carven of a trunk, the shrine. Catlin's is kitchen. Sorus cast my brone. You must, etc., acquirate the intrigate all the archpelicans, the astrologer wobbly by Tolan, who far shook our showers from Newer Island has signed to you in the now our mandate. Melancia waits. Be smart. One seekings, not the little slender, not the broad roundish near the little slender, not the fair side full featured, to the leeward and the broad roundish, but indeed and in need the coralling, perfect proportioned, flower flecked, shapely, high hued, delicate features swaying to the windward of the fair side full featured.
Was that in the air about when something is to be said for it, or is it someone in particular who will somewhereize for the whole anyhow? What does Comgen tell his hidings clearly? A wood-to-gooder. Is his moral tact still his best of weapons? How about a little more Goling Gould? Rowland's tongue he get no must. It is the voice of Roga. His face is the face of a son. Be thine the silent hall, O Jarama. A virgin the one shall mourn thee. Roga's stream is Solence, but Cruna is in Adestance. The ass of the O'Dwyer of Grey Glens is a bro to bays afield in his terroirs of the Potterton's four coroners, the reeks around the burly hearth. When visited by an independent reporter, Mike Portland, to burrow burning the latter man's restaurant, as so is called the Gortan in Questure, he mikes the following for the Durban Gazette, first coming issue. From a correspondent, anywhere, Deemsday, boss of upper and lower Baggots trade, Kaiwark, may he live for river. The game's funeral at Valley Temple. Saturnite's pomps, exhibiting the caricature of a hearse, revealed by Oscar Camarade. The last of Dutch Schulds perhumps. Pipe and Dreamcloose. Uncovers pub history. The outrage at length. Affected mob follows in religious Sullivans. Reinvention of vestiges by which they drugged the buddy. Movie figure on in scenic section. By Patathicus. And there, from out of the sooty, misty London, along the Canavan route, that is, with the years gone, mild beam of the wave his polar bearing, sterner among stars, trust to thinner, and you tread to true turf, comes the sorter, Mr. Herr Hansen, talking all the ways in himself of his hopes to fall in amongst a merry fowl of maidens, happy can go home from the dance, his nickel already in his naxy fob, a passable compatriot comparly of the Grimstad galleon, old Pears Freeze, feed up to the Noxer with their geese and peas and oats upon a trencher, and the toimes he'd lust in wombing, but with that smile like a grace of beckoning over his egg lips of the sun's shoon shine. Here's hearing you in a guest mask, ladder man, and such an improvement, as roight as the mail and as fat as a fuddle. Shoon, shoon the pust, a penny for your thoughts abouts. Tay, tibby, tanny, tummy, tasty, toasty, tay. Batches for baker who baxters our bread. Oh, what an ovenly odour. Butter, bring us this day's our maily bag. But receive me, my friend sheets, from the emerald dark winter long. For dis is the dos for Isle the Downs, and das is the dus as singen singers, what the hard-working, straight-walking, start-stamping, securely sealing officials, who trow to form our GMPs past muster, generally shay for she and slew for slee, when butting their head to the pillow for a night-shared next shift with the altar girl they tuck in for a sweepstake. Dutiful Wilker for his hides of March. Have you the time? Hands a hike? Heard you the crime, Senny boy? The man was giddy on Letty's, on the jury of jewry. He persuaded, withered with intrenious midgeries, dagos, tea times, shadows, nocturnes, or Samoans, if well-stocked filler-outers, plush fever frowns with dopey chonks, and this, that, and the other pigskin or muffle kinkles taking a pipe course or doing an anguish, seen to his fleece in after his foul, when Dr. Chart of Greek Chaucer's treat, he changed his backbone at a sitting. He had not the declination at what with his foos is wet with the phase, but so far as hanging a goobs on the proceedings, where then the lag allows it might be anything after darks, which the dears alones they sees in the darkest day is snuffing of the wind up, debbling, grant events, hyacinths with heliotrops, not one full vixen freakings, but double decoys. It is a label iction on the port of the Catholic Church and a summum most atoll for it. Where is that blinkety blanketer, that crowned of a peeler, that sunt of a hunt want foxes good men? Where are he our loved among many? But what does Comgem the Fostard, Tyro, a Torah, the no-vened iconostas of his bluey-grained vitriols, but begins it in faint to light his legend? Let Phosphoron proclaim, Peachy, say he that saw him that saw. Man shall sharp run, do aget him. Ask no more, Jerry mine, Roger's voice. No pice sork abatcha. The bog which puckerooed the posy, the vine branch of Herriman Heber on Bregier's plain, where Teffia lies, is leaved invert and fructed proper, but the Kyoblick hatches end not open yet for hourly rince's mess. Reed Higgins, Cairns, and Egan. Malthus is yet looked in close. Within, how swathed in their answer alcove makes therein. Besokers loiter on, and libatory solisates of limon sodias will be absorbable. It is not even yet the engine of the load with hailed morries full of crates, you matin mummer, for Dombell Dums. Sure, and 'tis not them. The Greek sideral Ruthway, as it happens, will soon be starting a smooth with its first single Hastencraft. Danny buzzes instead of the Violact coloured milk train on the farty kecked plan run with its endless galaxion of rotator rattlers, and the Smultru now Elderens remember him as the screen of the service, Subrubbery Bess. Also, the wagon wobblers are still yet ever due to precipitate after night's combustion. Aspect Seamus Rogua or Taciat and Hagiographici Canat Ecclesia, which Aubrey our first shall show. In attendance, who is will play that's what's that to that what's that what. Oh yes, oh yes. The primace of the Gauls, proto-notorious. I am as I am. Mitro generand in this free state on the air is now a boil to blow a gale warning. In operation Ireland's Iot, Meganesia, Habitant, and the 1,000 incels, Western and Ostern approaches.
Of Kevin, of increate God the servant, of the Lord Creator, a filial fairer, who given to the growing grass took to the tall timber, Slippery Dick the springy healer, as we have seen, so we have heard, what we have received, that we have transmitted, thus we shall hope, this we shall pray till, in the search for the love of knowledge, through the comprehension of the unity and altruism, through stupefaction, it may again how it may again, shearing aside the four weathers and passing over the dainty daily dairy, and dropping by the way the lapful of live coals, and smoothing out Nelly Nettle and her lad of metal, full of stings, fond of stones, friend of Gnugnorn's bones, and leaving all the messy to look after our douche, the miracles, death and life are these. Yad, procreated on the ultimate island of Ireland in the encyclical Irish archipelago, come their feast of pre-created holy white-clad angels, whom among the christener of his, voluntarily poor Kevin, having been granted the privilege of the priest procreated portable alter cum balneo, while espousing the one true cross, invented and exalted in celibate matrimony at matin chime arose and west from went and came in alb of cloth of gold to our own midmost Glendalough Livet by archangelical guidance, where a middle of meeting waters of river Hysia and Essia river, on this one of either's lone navigable lake, piously Kevin, lauding the triune Trishagion, amidships of his conductible altar superbath, rafted centripetually, diaconal servant of orders Hibernarian, midway across the subject lake's surface to its supreme epicentric lake Hyle, whereof its lake is the ventrifugal principality, whereon by prime powerful in knowledge Kevin came to where its centre is among the circumfluent watercourses of Yiscafiana and Yuscafiuna, the Enslide Lakelet, Ishlanding, the Lacustrine Islet, whereupon the beached raft, subdiaconal bath proper altar, with oil extremely anointed, accompanied by prayer, holy Kevin bided till the third morn hour, but to build a rubric pentinellital honey beehive hut, in whose enclosure to live in fortitude, acolyte of cardinal virtues, whereof the arenary floor, most holy Kevin, excavated as deep as to the depth of a seventh part of the one full fathom, which excavated venerable Kevin, anchorite, taking counsel, proceeded towards the lakeside of the islet shore, where at several times he, eastward genuflectuating in entire obedience at sex noon, collected Gregorian water sevenfold, and with Ambrosian Eucharistic joy of heart, as many times receded, carrying that privileged altar unacumque bath, which severally 7 times into the cavity excavated, elector of water levels, most venerable Kevin, then effused, thereby letting there be water where there was theretofore dry land, by him so congregated, who now, confirmed a strong and perfect Christian, blessed Kevin, exorcised his holy sister water, perpetually chaste, so that, well understanding, she should fill to mid height his tubathalatha, which handbath tub, most blessed Kevin, ninthly enthroned, in the concentric centre of the translated water, where amid, when violent Vesper veiled, Saint Kevin, Hydrophilos, having girded his sable cappa magna, as high as to his cherubical loins, at solemn compline sat in his seat of wisdom, that hand-bath tub, wherever after, recreated Doxa Insularis of the Universal Church, keeper of the door of meditation, memory extempore proposing, and intellect formally considering, recluse, he meditated continuously, with seraphic ardour, and primal sacrament of baptism, or the regeneration of all man by effusion of water. Ye!
Bishops, bevel to rock's right. Sarver buoy, extinguish. Nuatura bene. The rare view from the three bins under the bald heaven is on the other end. Askin your Blixom on Demen and Blastoon, something to write Hume about. They were erected in a pervious century, as a hen fine coops, and if you know your Bristol and your trudged the trolley ways and evil turns of that old cobbled city, you will sort officially scribble the metal penny Knox gore. Whether they are Franklins by name also has not been fully probed. Their design is a who sold word of the charming details of light and dark are fresh from the femininity which breeds content. O Farax Kupla, ah fairy pair, the first exploder to make his ablations in these parks was indeed that lucky mortal which the monster trial showed on its first day out. What will not Archie paper and antedidentingly inked in penmark push per sample prof covertly faulted, when style, stink, and stigmatophorn are on are of one sum in the same person? He comes out of the soil very well after all jest where old Trollifer is to come shuffling along soon. Paniquane starts showing of her pequella talents. Away wrong, Wandler cirking of a right writer, rut for his plain utterrock souks, appealed to by her fancy clagars. You plied that poker, gamesies, swell as I did, while there were flickers to the florist. He may be humpy, nay, he may be dumpy, but there is always something racy about, say, a sailor on a horse. as
It's
soon
true.
as as soon as we sail him geen, we gates a sprise. He brings up Tuffatura, uh, Tuffa, and that is how we get to messes and masses. The old Marin tale. We vertus vertre not notifiu dim lustrous priorly magistrate max moletry and lub lubdability learned. Faxt. Take off that wise head. Great sinner, good sooner. It is in effect the motto of the Mac Cowell family. The gloved fist, skirman handsaker, was entracted into the scorodatal tree before the 4th of the 12th, and it is even a little odd all for horologists Gary still gonging restaged Jacob von de Bethel, smoggling behind his pipe, his SV of message posthumia, latling out his borrowed chaffing dish before symbolizing the apostles at every hours of changeover. The first and last riddle rattle of the anniversary. When is a nam not a nam, whereas it is a watch. Heroes Highway, where our fleshers leave their belongings and every bob and Joan to fill the bumper fare. It is their signal of old Championsealed to seek the shades of his retirement, and for young Chapin lasses to tear around and tease their partners' love of to fun at Finnegan's wake. And it's tie, titly high TT, that my dig pressed in your dag seat, gnog of old gnig, gnig, meeg, browly. I bag your burden, mess is thee's knees, thee is me. We have caught oneselves, Sves messes, in sums incongruity, complex of hepapunhurish marriage from whose I must sublimate. A plurag, my ing executes. Still so solvi, while till tt.
Ha! Gayer grinning gains in schlimmeninging. A summer wind spring falls abated. Hail ring of darkness, snowly reassessing. Thund lightning thund into the dim below star departamenti wither out. Soon hissed, soon missed, to the hot to hill from the hollow, soul sking the frist, attempted by the admirable captive Bunting and Lieutenant Coronel Blair, will processingly show up above Tumplin Bar, whereupon he was much jubilated by Burgmeister Dick Fog of Isold, now Isold, looking most plussed with, Exhib 39, a clout-capped sunbubble acanaponied from his bequined torse. Up, Blanchardstown, Muse Peppers pleads Coppel. Gracest goodness, heave Mency upon us. Grand old man Button, give your bowlers a rest. It is a mere meanerism of this vague of visibilities, mark you, as accorded by moisturologist of the Brehon's scorceration for the advancement of science. Because, my dear, mentioning a bit under the breath as in pure, what bunkum, essence, there have been dissolving fornest, you just the draper, the 2 drawpers assisters, and the 3 droopers assessors, confraternizers, who are, of course, Uncle Arth, your 2 cozers from Nice and conjunct a bit now, our own familiars, Billy Healy, Ballyhooly, and Bully Howley, surprised in an indecorous position by the Sigurd Sigerson Sphygmomanometer Society for Bled Prushes. Knightsmore. Haven't I? Ha ha! This Mr. Ireland? And alive? Aye, boss. The cry of Stina chills the vitals of slumbering off the mother has been pleased into the harms of old Saliciters. Measurers soon and soon, but the voice of Elina gladdens the cockly-hearted dreamerish for that magic moaning, with its ching-chang chaps, shoegay, cow-low, milky moochie, bringing Becca bros the brew with the future in it. Soyest? Note? Nietz. I think I saw to mum or some such. kind of thing like all trailog, then probably it resembles a pelvic or some kind then props, an acute-backed quadrangle with slant off ohanhenth, a wench you may cuddler, lying with her royal Irish upper shoes among the thick leaves. Signs are on of a mere by token that will still to be becoming upon this there once a here was world, as the day lives unfolding them. In the wake of the black shape, Natten den sought, when at hindled first and hundled firth, the week of wakes is out and over, as a week woking front innumerable ashes, unto fierce force fuming, tam the Phoenician wakes. Passing. 1. We are passing. 2. From sleep we are passing. 3. Into the Wykewade's world from sleep we are passing. 4. Come hours. Be ours. But still, dire, and stay. It was also agreeable in our synagogue clutchless, touring the no place like, no time like absolent, mixing up Pennyvaughan populos with the Magnamore gentries, Lloyd Hare mercenary blookers, with Boydskin pigtails and goop-schlipped Gwendolines, with duffy-eyed Dolores, like so many improbables in their poor suit of the impossible. With Mater and after please with Matamuru, and after please stop with Matamaraluka, and after stop do please with Matamaraluka Joni. And another des dapalas, he will be longing after the Grogam Greys, and why sing Cheta Auloli, he will level out to the minstrel tramp pleasure be. She-flower Rosina, younger she-flower fruit amaryllis, youngest flower fruity flawn salicil or silly sal, and house with heaven roof occupantes their continuatingly at traverse of its militudinous windows, Ryko coursing themselves as stained glass on stone gloss in plain English Winds Hotel. Branchards at Bulbeck, Oldbooth, Sassendale, Jorsey, Uppygard, Munderlond, Appitot, Bracky-Tweet with Hockey Villa, Focky Villa, Hilly Willy and Walhall. Who manages the thing of Viking, Obning Shotley, when the messenger of the risen sun, see other Oriel, shall give to every seeable a hue, and to every hearable a cry, and to each spectacle his spot, and to each happening her auram, the while we are waiting for him.
Muta.
Quod des nunc fumiste volvuns endomino?
Juva.
It is old head of kettle puffing off the top of the morning.
Muta.
He ought be thoroughly well ashamed of himself for smoking before the high host.
Juva.
Dies is Dominus master and commandment, illi tonabras.
Muta.
Dimonest Aster, and I could perceive amongst the gatherings who ever they walk in process?
Juva.
Kubada. It is the Christem Thalander, with his porters of bonzos, pom-pommy plonky plonk, the Gary Wallers, money overing the cab-rattled field of slain.
Muta.
Pongo de Banza! And I would certain in druidful scatterings, one piece tall chap, he stand one piece, same place?
Juva.
Bullachilly, he is fundamentally theosphasgusted over the horse proceedings.
Muta.
Petrificationibus, O Horild Harafar, who his dick huns now re-erexes from underneath the memorial orlum.
Juva.
Believe firmly, believe. Fing, king, king.
Muta.
Uloverlum? Fulgitagutio aegis ridonum teniet.
Juva.
Relentlessly, till the tip of his ziff, and the ubidentia of the savium is at Urvix Phenicticus.
Muta.
Why solely smiles the supremest with such for a leery on his rugular lips?
Juva.
Bitcher botchum, Ihebidime. He has helped his croon on the Berkeley by, but he has holf his crown on the Arisian Generalissimo.
Muta.
Skulker salute. The twily velade is thus then perildy cynical?
Juva.
Ut vivat volumen sic pereat por adusas.
Muta.
Having money on stable cert?
Juva.
Tempt to outsider.
Muta.
Sook, he's quaffs. What?
Juva.
Sec, water, wet.
Muta.
Ad piabel et pluribel?
Juva.
At win, warman og sengs.
Muta.
So that when we shall have acquired unification, we shall pass on to diversity. And when we shall have passed on to diversity, we shall have acquired the instinct to combat. And when we shall have acquired the instinct to combat, we shall have passed back to the spirit of appeasement?
Juva.
By the light of the bright reason which day sends to us from the high.
Muta.
May I borrow that horde wander baffle from you, old rubber skin?
Juva.
Here it is, and I hope it's your worming pen, Erin Monker. Shoot! Rhythm and colour at Park Mooting. Peridos last in the Grand Natural. Velivision Victor. Dub's new stage old time turf tussle. Recalling Winnie Willie Widger. 2 draws. Heliotope leads from harem. 3 ties. Jockey the Ropper jerks Jake the Rape. Padrock and Buckley chat. And here are the details.
Tunk. By me by, Bollocky Vampus, Tappany Bobs, Topside Joss, Pigeon Fella, Balkily, Archdruid of Ishlish, Chinchin Joss, and in the his heptochromatic, 7-hued, septicolored, Roy, yellow, green, Garen, mantle finish, he show along the his Mr. Guest, Patholic, with all beg on him and whose throat hum with a same time all the his cassock groaner fellas of gray fairies family he fast all time what time all him monks fellas with same patholic quanium speaking ye not speaking no man liberty is he drink up words set tomorrow till recover will not all too many much illusions through photoprismatic velmenia of hue full panaphonal uh world spectrum of Lord Jos the of which Zona Catholic furniture, from mineral through vegetal to animal, not appear to full up together fallen man than under but one photo reflection of the several iridols granditinions of solar light that one which that part of it, fruit of hue panapi world, had shown itself, part of fur of Hupan war, unable to absorb absorbably, whereas for Numpa one pura duxt, seer in 7th degree of wisdom, of interest on of savvy inside true inwardness of reality. The ding havad and itself id est, all objects on Panpia war, all sides showed themselves in true color color coloribus, resplendent with sextuple gloria of light actual retained uh, un- untistentious inside them, obs of Ipawo ruminant plebloric stereotypopicteus no catch all the preachy book um utpium tomorrow recover things even is not by me by vampsy bopsy tap pad tap panabolics topside joss pigeon fella Belkelly sat pet fella on Tessantes 2 time him halts healing, which with other words verb grading from Murlentrius till Stridulacellarius, and a Hunghorngree Tisk long sing, while his comprehendurient with diminishing clouded catanisms, augmentioning augmentioning himself in Califeria to vision so through sighty. You anxious melancholic. High, that's height, Uber King Leary, and his fiery grass belong head, all shown color, and sorrel wood, herb green, again, loker of the his exen colored, home-grown worsted's costume, and his fellow saffron petticoat look same hue of boiled spaces, other thing voluntary mutamuser, he not compy handy, that his golden two-breasted torque look just 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 as me like cura cubis more after to pace negative negativisticius, verdant ready rain roof, belonging him, exuber high uber king leary, very dead. What he wished to say, spit of super exbrubundancy, plenty laurel leaves. After the commander Bulumpent, eyes of most highest ardencies star king, same thing like time choppy upon parsley. Alongside that, if pleasure nos displaced Taratug, sol los sub bishop pastored, enamel Indian gem, and maldecisive finger fondler of high sire sultan emperor, all same like one fellow alvin lentil. On on the long side that by undescendants kirkering Viralacious, war-worn, constucious of face butts, of high up, big, cocky-walkie, sublicissimi autocrat, for that with pure hue glute, intensely saturated one, ting uniformly, all around side, up and down, very like you second chow of plenty much cynicism, hump chumps, ebel bally, sukkot, punk, big seer, reflex of petty padre, wallocking it out, a tumble to take, trippiness to call thing and to call if so is good while. You poor Shirascuro, black and white Paddinger, by this whiz ap- apostera prismatically, apotrophied and paralogically paraleased, celestial from principaliest of Eros, Iris man's ruined boon pot before. For begin time, for being time, monk blinkers, time blinged, complementary, Merc blankered in the neutralius between the possible vera, vera, veridilitude of the sagger of the probable eruption of the saint. As my Pinquish to me, Wimpin Melis, Gongasts, a hand caught scarf of synthetic shamrag of hims, hers, seeming such 4-3-2 arrangement, cause heart to be might, saving to Blennerarch, he kneeleth, the great Blennerarch, he kneeleth down, the greatest great Blennerarch, he kneeleth down quiet solemnly. The sound sent simple in the weed wade world of the fire there, the sun and his halo cast on men.
That was thing by Gotter, the thing bog cotton, the very thing begad. Even up to putty bilkily belkily bulkily. Who was for shouting down the shaton on the lamp of Gishes? Sweating on to stonker and throw his seven, as he shuck his thumping four features apt the hoy-hop of his odds. Thud. Good safe fire lamp, hailed the Heliots. Gold cell 4 lump, hailed they. Awed. Where thereon the skyfold high, tramp a tramp a tramp. Adi. Per ye come down, duminum nunstrom, ye som priestomes, fully hum to whom. To how? Sants and sogs, camps and cobs, kings and carls, tents and taunts. 'Tis gone in far over. So for now, Dalish, poor day, to transfixure shown, feist of tabernacles, Sinopegia come, sham work be in our shining, and let every Chris couple be so cross complementary little egons, yulk and meek in a far bygger pan cosmos, with a haughty ham yum all round. Good struce.
Beautiful.
I now remember, like, I was like, this is why people never stop reading this book. Because if you put it down for like a month, you forget how to read it.
Yeah, you lost the muscle.
I did.
Well, I'm not
You
saying
had
you
some.
lost the muscle.
You
One
had
might
some
lose the muscle.
very, very difficult words
You
there.
did.
I was
It
like,
was.
how dare he?
I think it was done on purpose. It did seem that way. You got the really difficult bits.
It's all good.
Well,
This
I
is
didn't assign those on purpose. I'll say I'm not just here to torment TJ. It is very democratic the way I lay it out, and so it just goes in a circle. But just happens that TJ got some more hard ones.
it's all good. You know what? Again, this is what everyone needs a humbling on their birthday. They need to be put in their place, shrink the ego. But you know the thing I definitely noticed is that there seems to be a lot more references to prayer, specifically the Lord's Prayer in this section, I thought that was really interesting. And then a new possible tattoo.
Ooh.
A new possible tattoo. Passing one, we are passing two. From sleep, we are passing three. Into Wake of Wade's world, from sleep, we are passing four. Come hours be ours. I was like, that's great.
Not, may I borrow that Honda Wonder baffle from you, old rubber skin? Do you not want that put on your
Not,
body for the rest of
not
time?
forever. Although I am also with you that a man on a horse does a lot for me. So
A sailor is a sailor on a
a
horse.
It's a
sailor on a
sailor
horse,
on a
A
horse.
yes.
That's the
sailor on a
ridiculous thing.
horse is a saucy
Listen,
sight or something similar.
sure
Yeah,
is.
yeah,
It's true.
absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, that's lovely. Yeah, lots of, yeah. Well, yeah. I noted that one as well. The passing one, we're passing two. That, yeah, really, lots of senses that we're waking up. That the dreamer is now dozing. He's not a sleeper
Yeah.
anymore.
Definitely, it's that sort of transition from that dream state to waking, and it's that kind of magical period in between those times, which is usually only a couple of seconds in real life, but obviously in Finnegan's Wake, it's many pages.
Yeah, there were a few moments there where, so in last week's episode, you won't have heard it yet, Lucy, but in the last week's episode, we had a couple of neuroscientists on to talk about what happens in our brain while we sleep. And they were very interesting people, and lots of really interesting things. One of the things that Adrian Parrish said was that we cannot possibly dream anything we don't already know. And so it's the remix. A dream is the remix of all of our prior knowledge. And
Wow.
dreaming is required to generate memory. Really interesting stuff. But one of
He
the things
also
that,
said that your dreams in REM sleep are in real time.
yeah,
Really? Wow.
yeah, and that you open your eyes 100 times a night, but you don't remember it.
That's really interesting because I had this
Yeah.
mad dream the other night that there were these giant tortoises snapping at people's feet and sort of nipping people, not in a really malevolent way, but I felt the need to wake up in the night and to wake up my partner and say, there's these big turtles nipping at people's feet. and that just seems weird that that was happening in real time in my brain, and now I can't get it out of my head. That's
It means
completely
something.
irrelevant, but
The
these big,
tortoises mean
the
something.
yeah, they really do. Nipping.
Yeah. But it's
Also,
interesting that in the dreams here, the dreams start to become a little bit more lucid. As he's coming out of this dream, it's almost like one of the examples we mentioned last week was like if you wake up to a radio. The news in the morning, the news becomes part of your dream, and I felt like there was a couple of moments here where I thought feels like he's overhearing the morning radio, but then that wouldn't have been the case at that time. So,
well, also
but
think about the fact that he seemed surprised that like everything before was a dream, right? He says, "You mean to see we have been hating a sound night's sleep?" Like,
What, you thought that was real? That was yeah, that
yeah,
the previous bit, yeah, clearly. And I quite like the bit Kevin, who is a version of Sean or Shem, I forget which one now.
Sean, I think,
Sean
yeah,
has become some sort of saint
yeah.
or bishoply character after all of that and everything. He's now kind of a really exalted figure there.
Yeah, well, Saint Kevin is sort of one of those legendary Irish saints, and so
Oh,
yeah, so he's like Saint Bridget or Saint Patrick. He's one of the
Saint
venerated
Kevin.
Saint Kevin of Glendalough. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. This
wow.
this is why I was like, there's so many like just references what our Vaters that art in Himmel. I was like, cool.
Hmm.
Um, Lots of stuff to like play on. Give us the stare daily bread,
Hmm.
which I think that's really interesting. And when it's next to lines like "slippery dick," the spring, the springy healer.
Yeah, yeah, or for it has to be over this booty spotch,
Yeah,
which I'm sure means something different to Joyce, but not to us. Uh,
I don't think it meant anything different to Joyce. He knows what he's talking about
he does.
there.
He does.
but this is the
Absolutely.
first time that the text has sounded like this is going to be super nerdy, but Simlish, which is a language that they put in the video game The Sims.
Oh
Yes.
yeah.
That
Yeah.
is it like the Muta and Juva section. I was like,
Hmm.
this sounds like Simlish. This just sounds like
It
straight
does.
Simlish.
And but there's just that magic moment, which caught me completely by surprise, where they're talking in Simlish in nonsense, and then suddenly Muta says, "So that when we shall have acquired unification, we shall pass on to diversity, and like he goes immediately into this Monty Python esque cyclical phrase. One thing leads to another, which leads to another, which leads to another, which is of course what Finnegan's Wake does. It's a cycle, but that's it. It's like the evolution of language. It's like language is suddenly has been invented.
There's a sudden clarity there, isn't there? Which
Yeah,
is really unexpected. Again, a little bit like the with the whole sort of going from dreaming to waking.
yeah.
There's little bits of sense and reality coming through there.
And then, of course, we slip back into "May I borrow that Horde Wanderbaffle from you, old rubber skin?" So,
Absolutely,
yeah.
yes.
So
Here
we
it
can
But
go.
is. I hope it's your worming pen, Erin Monka.
but then there's also more references to like this being something sent down from God. Like in the beginning, it's like
Yeah.
the part through the cloud, the hand in, and even
Yeah,
Juva responds by the light of the bright reason, which day sends to us from the high, which
Mm.
is like the religious overtones. They have been throughout the whole book, but I feel like I'm feeling them heavier here.
definitely. Yeah. And then it's sort of juxtaposition with Winnie Willie Widger. Um,
Yeah,
which is just sort of he's putting that kind of sort of nonsense, clearly kind of a bit naughtiness, but right alongside that clear biblical
Hmm.
Catholic imagery.
And then we get the moment on page 597 where the sleeper is awakening. It says sleeper awakening, but this is woken by a thought. And he says, cold sleuth, Vayans, where did thoughts come from? And so it's him waking up in the night and saying, but wait, those scantily clad women on Instagram, where do they come from?
Where are they from?
Are they AI generated? I'm assuming that's what he was talking about. Uh,
Exactly that.
well,
when,
and it also might be because we've often talked about how, especially around night lessons, there's some weird like incestual stuff. Is he being like, where? What is? Why did my mind dream this thing?
mm.
Because
Well,
I
and
got
that's
questions as to
well,
why
and
my mind dreamed this thing too.
that's the really interesting thing that came out of that conversation we had last week, where he said that we can't dream anything we don't already know or already think or
Mm-hmm.
have already experienced. And so the fact that there's so much sexual content in this book, to a man who was fairly sexually repressed. I mean, he was very active with Nora, but he was also a voyeur and had very lot of things that he was interested in. You couldn't really talk about in polite company. But the fact that it comes up throughout the dreams, it sort of very much is like the things that we repress still float around in our dreams. So if you're closeted, you're not closeted in your dream, or if you're sexual deviant, then those things are explored in your. It's a really interesting thing that we have that freedom in this dream, and which means that why would the dreamer be repressed? Because there's no repression in dream. It's
Yeah, and also you can't hide from your true self, I think, and in
mhm.
dreams you have that freedom, and it's also whether you want that freedom or not. Sometimes people repress things because, either they're ashamed of their feelings or their thoughts, but in dreams there's no hiding from that, is there? It comes through regardless. There's no filter.
Mhm.
Not that
Yeah.
Joyce has much of a filter in general, but I think he
No.
uses no, but I think he does use that sort of premise of the dreamscape to be unfiltered, and that's that can only be a good thing, really, and it's certainly what he does best, I think.
Yes. He also, one of the things he does best on page 596, he invents the world's worst superhero. Nomeo sulfur dosa salaman order man. I'm like, you're doing a lot of stuff here, and I'm not sure what his superpower is, but
That's a lot
but
of
he, yeah,
superpowers.
I think with a name like that, he's definitely a DC
Oh
superhero.
no, he's independently
Yeah,
made. You know
he's
that's true.
dark horse. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that series.
We'll
Who's
add
his
it.
sidekick, for goodness sake,
Well, add it to the
Christ?
Festy
list.
King
Mr.
Yeah,
all day.
King! Yeah, there we
yeah.
go.
And speaking of Festy King, Kate Strong shows up. We have the tip
We
tip
have the
tip showed
tip.
up.
Exactly. Yes,
I
I was
was
Yeah,
very
excited.
excited to see her back. Everybody's favourite barmaid, and
yeah. So we
possibly many other things.
and so it's interesting that they had. So obviously within the scope of the cycle, we're within 20 pages of the end of the book, which means we're within 25 pages of the Musi Room if you go back around again, right?
Absolutely, yeah. We're
And
Mm,
so she's not far away. And same with we get on page 609, we get Muta and Juva, who are this is the third time we've seen them.
hmm
On page 16, we get Mutt and Jute. And then on page 338, we get Butt and Taff. So we get three different versions of these two idiots going back and forth as like almost like this Abbott and Costello kind of who's on first comedy duo, which I think it's based on the cartoon Mutt and Jeff, which was an American comic, like a newspaper
mm,
cartoon, which was
Mutt and
essentially
Jeff.
like Mutt and Jeff, yeah, and it was basically like these two, like Laurel and Hardy, like there was
Okay.
one tall one and one short fat one, and they would just go back and forth and tell jokes to each other or get into adventures and things like that. So I think Mutt and Jeff begets Mutt and Jute and Butt and Taff and Muta and Juva. But it's interesting that they show up 300 pages apart, almost exactly, at the beginning of the book, exactly halfway
Mm.
through, and exactly at the end.
And I think there is a reference to a horse race here as well, which there's a
Mm,
prominent horse race earlier in the book where it's either being overheard or somebody's narrate or not narrating it,
yes.
commentating it. So we've got
Hmm.
that kind of that racing and gambling thing has come
Right.
back in right at the end as well, which sort of is a theme
It
throughout
is,
the
yeah, and we see a
book.
lot of that in Dubliners, and we see it in all of his work. In Ulysses, there's Bloom wins
The
the
Irish love
yeah,
the horse racing. It's a
yeah,
really really big thing to this
they
day,
do, yeah, yeah.
how
So
crazy would it be if he just fell asleep at the bar? He's just
Mm,
I I mean, it would be actually sort of a reasonable explanation that
yeah.
you mean Joyce or HCE, either one. That is
either
the whole,
one.
yeah.
Yeah,
That
Hmm.
that's where it's all come from. He's fallen asleep at the bar, and the whole thing has just been the background conversations in his sort of
Right.
drunken slumber
Mm-hmm.
that
And then
has
he's
been
waking up and he's like, the barmaid's still here. The people who are in the
yeah,
corner are still here.
people are still
Mm-hmm.
gambling.
I might as well just have another
Did I
drink
do
and
that
go
thing
back
in
to
the
sleep.
park or not?
Yeah.
Nobody
Well,
knows.
and it's so interesting. Like, there's one of my favorite podcasts is Three Castles Burning, which is a podcast on Dublin history, and it's this wonderful, wonderful podcast. And the episode that just came out today is about the Dublin tradition of the early houses, which are pubs that open at 7 a.m. in order so that the milkmen can go get their beer before their run.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And they still exist. And
I
this week's
believe it.
episode, this week's episode of Three Castles Burning talks all about that. I'll link to that in the show notes as well, because that's a really fun episode, and just the idiosyncrasies of these places where the idea of being up all night and in a pub at 7 a.m. is likely is possible. It wouldn't happen in a lot of places, but Dublin, yes.
I
You know
mean,
what,
to be
Toby?
fair,
Is that theory worth a drink?
in the 90s in
Maybe.
Northampton, that was sort of, you could, yeah, drink all
Oh yeah,
night and then
get the
come
lock
out,
in. Yeah.
yeah, 7 or 8 in the morning, and there'd be somewhere that might serve you in the 90s. Yeah. Maybe not so much now. I wouldn't know. Don't get up for
No,
that sort
no,
of
no.
thing these
You
days.
were at church. Yeah.
Absolutely not. Clearly,
You
yes.
know, this crazy thing. When I was in Iowa this past summer, we recorded an episode while I was in Iowa. I forgot
That's
about
right.
that. I got up to catch an Uber to go to the airport at 4 a.m. and there were people stumbling home, and I was like, oh, "Excuse me?" They're like, "Oh yeah, the bar's just closed."
Wow.
Like, and he's like, "The first bar opens in 6 hours." I was like, "This is crazy to me."
That is by definition a young man's game. I don't
Oh
know.
yeah.
Yeah,
Very
yeah,
much so.
yeah. I don't
Yeah.
think I'm up for that anymore.
No.
So the other thing we like here at Wake are milestones, and we just passed 600 pages, which feels pretty
Hey,
momentous to get
massive.
past 600. And yeah, it's always, every single time we've passed a major milestone like that, I always look up and go, oh, we're on 603. Oh, I missed it. I always think, oh, we should sort of blow a horn or something to make it clear that we've done it. But yeah, it's kind of incredible to have read 600. Now it's 613 pages, which is, yeah. I mean, we're just about there now.
It's so exciting, but also I'm quite sad in
Yeah,
a way, um,
yeah.
because yeah, it has become a big part of of my being, if you like,
Yeah.
diving back into Finnegan's Wake and listening to the podcast and so many other people getting involved, and
Hmm.
very exciting to get to the end, but yeah, it's a bit sad as
It
well.
is sad, but it's also, I mean, it's like how long is a piece of string? Because you go, well, okay, we could keep going, but if we do that, then when do you finish? And the last thing we want is for the podcast to fizzle out, or to us to get too busy, and then we just never,
Yeah,
suddenly
then
there's
it just
months in
kind of
between, and and or for TJ to finally go, seriously, dude, I don't want to do this anymore. You told me to be once,
we've got so much
maybe.
better things to do.
Yeah, all that stuff. I mean,
Mm.
all the listeners stop or whatever. It's one of those things. So I think making it finite is sad, but it was like the Venice Beach Finnegan's Wake reading group that took 28 years to read the book. They took them 28 years to read it once, and it was in all the media about this group, and they're very nice people, and are very, but they got to the end and celebrated ending it, and I think they lasted 2 months, and then they started again because they couldn't quite be without it,
Ooh.
and so they'll probably read it forever, which is great. But for us, we have other things to do. I think we have
Yeah.
bigger fish to fry.
I think, like the book itself, though, the podcast is something that people can just come back to and listen to over and
Oh
over
yeah,
again, because there'll always be something different that you pick up either in the reading or the conversation
yes,
or what have you.
absolutely,
So, although the podcast is finite, the enjoyment of it is not. I think
yes,
even when you finish with the wake is never quite finished with you. So
yes,
you come back
exactly.
as and when. Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah. So it's so it is sad to get toward the end, but one thing I'm not sad about is having to read these awful Oxford World's Classic summaries of these sections. But since we've done them all, I'm going to read out the summary from the Oxford World's Classic. Oxford World Classic, we're mad at you. We remain mad at you. So if you see us at a conference, go the other way because we're not fans. But here is what is said.
Meet me outside. We'll have
Yeah,
talks.
meet us outside.
But as I said, there's no real summary for this chapter. It just starts in with the line summary. So I'll just go through what happens in this section. It's very detailed. We have forgotten everything we just said. So let's, we'll see what we can take out of this. So this is book 4. We're using the page and line numberings that they use. So from page 593 to 595-32, the sun rises, touches the tops of hills and tombstones, and the mute and deaf asleep in dormitories. The 32 counties of Ireland are cockcrows. Let HCE sleep. 593-33 to 596-33, the attributes of the coming man, Sean. 596-34 to 598-27, what was all the kerfuffle last night about? Look, a shaft of sunlight. Yesterday's gone, a new day dawns. Give thanks. 598-28 to 600.4, the world turns, time returns, but what is the time? Primeval times are over, progress has been made, more or less, but still the world's parents boil their kettle with their crutch. 600.4 to 604.27, the Liffey's cleansing purity in its higher reaches is evoked and associated with Issy and the girls, Leap Girls. Their voices like church bells. Let's have a hero, Kevin, or Comgen, Sean. 602.6 to 604.26, Sean the Post, the news he brings, the milk train can be heard. 604.27 to 606.12, St. Kevin isolates himself and meditates on water and baptism. 606.13 to 607.22, after a muddle of motifs, the title is finally announced with apologies for the muddle. 607.23 to 609.23, various motifs are rehearsed. The king's visit, the fall, signalled by 2 and 3, and the family, the awakening, the night now passing, the 4, the ass, the girls, the 12. 609.24 to 611.3, a discussion between Muta and Juva about the coming duel between the pagan druid and the Christian missionary. 611.4 to 613.12, St. Patrick and the Druid, the defence and the indictment of the book itself. An argument about vision and colour between practically minded Catholic and an idealist. Berkeley. Unlike fallen man, the Archdruid says, a seer, like Berkeley, with inner vision, is able to perceive objects as coloured, not singly as they appear, but by the entire spectrum, including, that is, all the colours on the spectrum of light that have been absorbed by the object. As a result, everything is equally multicolored, all is unified, and appears in a sense as one color, which we might as well, come on, Jesus, Murphy, which we might as well say is green, since that color lies representatively in the middle of the spectrum. Have a look, for example, at the king's clothes, says Berkeley. They may look like the colors of the rainbow, but actually they are all green like cabbage, spinach, etc.
Is that what he said?
Patrick, not understanding and preferring symbols to concealed vision, picks a shamrock and bows down to the rainbow, symbol of divine mystery. Berkeley then kicks Patrick up the arse, or is it the other way around? Patrick is thus converted by Ireland. And they wonder why we hate academics.
They don't even mention the horse racing.
Or the sailors.
Oh, the sailor's on a horse. Where's the sailor?
There was a lot about water and boats and yes.
Yeah, I mean, I think at a certain point, the editor of this edition said, "I don't want to be an editor anymore. I want to write prose. Let me just slip some of my fiction in here. I'm just going to."
This is some fan fiction going on,
It
and not the
we have some
good SpongeBob stuff that you found earlier.
It's madness. I apologize for anyone who is a lover of that text, but oof. I'm glad that's the last time we have to read that nonsense. So I guess, I mean, like me, neither of you got any of that out of.
No, I mean, and you can tell from my book, absolutely got none of that whatsoever. I'm more sort of focused on the sailor on a horse, definitely. But I do think that the theme of HCE as a sailor and ALP as a river, that came through. I feel that that was kind of sort of obvious. What else was that? I think I just sort of liked some of the silly lines in that one, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Well,
and the deers that know everything.
Oh yeah. And the conversation about color, just how verbose that section does mimic the verboseness of when I was like, what are they talking about?
Yeah, but it's so funny how this editor glosses over giant things, but then goes into massive detail just there in that St. Patrick and the Druid. I mean, I feel almost certain that those 2 pages were the page that guy wrote his thesis on.
It must
And
be.
so he's like, "Oh, now I'm gonna crack my knuckles and talk to you
Yeah.
about my research," like
My
Neil's
time
friend
has
who's
come.
in his career. Yeah, but I don't know. Look, I think what's more interesting is Lucy's summary of book 4, part 1. So let's go back to Finnegan's What, Lucy. If you could give us the second paragraph. I think the second paragraph pretty much gets us there without the details, because this tells us all we need to know about what we read from book 4, part 1.
Sure. Book 4, which consists of just one chapter, opens with an unknown narrator calling for dawn to break and the people of the world to awaken. Some sort of deity of the dawn talks nonsense for quite a while, mainly concerning inedible yellow meat, then 29 schoolgirls and a fish. Somebody goes away, then comes back again, possibly Sean.
Well, what do we need? Yeah,
I mean,
Perfect.
I think that kind of covers it.
Yeah, talks nonsense for quite a while. I mean,
Yeah.
we're right there. I also like on page 121 you say Saint Kevin becomes a priest and travels along rivers collecting Gregorian water, as you do.
I mean, maybe that is what priests in Ireland do. I'm not sure what Gregorian water is, or am I being daft? Is it a
Uh,
thing?
it could be. It
Might Google
probably
it
is.
later.
Yes, we have a purist shouting at his iPod right now.
Yeah. Oh
If he's made
no.
it this far, he's just been he's hoarse from all
Yeah.
the shouting.
Yeah, I also do like that you have in your book here. May I borrow that Horde Wander baffle from you, old rubber skin? So it's an old friend.
Yeah, I love that. I just think there's something, and just calling your mate old rubber skin. I'm just gonna bring that back. I think my
Yeah.
friends are gonna refer to them now as "Hello there, old rubber skin.
Mm-hmm.
How's it going?" Maybe my mum is gonna be old rubber skin. I think that's her new nickname. Bless her.
Just change your name to that in your phone every time
Yeah,
it rings.
old rubber skin. Fantastic.
And the other thing I want to point out, we did this is for the next episode that Neil will be in, but when Neil's here, we're very serious. So I
Hmm.
want to just mention this part is that you mention a quotation from the second half of the chapter where you say, um, she appears to randomly invent the world's favourite search engine. One chap Googling the Holy Boys thingabib and this lad wetting his whittle. and then you write, I wouldn't advise Googling this, but if you do, be sure to clear your search history.
Absolutely. That's one for the Tor browser, isn't it? If you're
Yeah,
going to
that's it.
be putting that in. And
Yes, get it on
while
to incognito mode.
while I'm here and won't be here for the very sensible final episode, I do want to just mention my great love of Biddy the hen in this
Yes.
book. Probably my favourite character,
Mm-hmm.
purely because at one point she does consider raising a hen army. She she writes her memoirs, and she is the only person who ever gets to see the letter that
Yes.
ALP does. So, and Biddy the hen does pop up. She pops up
Mm-hmm.
in the pub and sort of has a bit of a row with the cat and all sorts. And I think she's a very overlooked character in Finnegan's Wake. And I suspect she's not going to get a mention in the next episode. So
Maybe not.
I
No.
really did want to bring
Mm.
her up now.
Okay, that's great. Well, we'll pour one out for Biddy the hen. I mean, we could start a GoFundMe to raise money to erect a statue of Biddy in Dublin. I
Oh
think,
gosh, wouldn't it be
wouldn't it be
wonderful?
good? Just if there was a giant chicken in Phoenix Park.
Wouldn't it
I
be? In
mean,
fact, now I'm thinking the fan fiction I could write would be Biddy the Hen's memoirs. Surely someone
This is the fan
must.
fiction we
there you
need and
go. That's it.
deserve. So
That's it.
Absolutely. I mean, surely that's
Yeah.
something
There you
that the
go.
world
There you
wants.
go.
Okay,
Well,
might be my next book after I
all
finish what
right.
I'm working on now, the memoirs of Biddy the Hen. Kind of
Well,
niche, but
yeah. Well, head over to AO3 and then just stick it on there. Because people,
yeah.
there's going to be a reader. There's going to be someone who's going to be like, "Oh, you found my kink."
I'm not putting any rude bits in it. Well,
Oh,
maybe
come
one or
on,
two.
Lucy.
We'll
Yeah, you
see.
know.
it's
There
like,
might be a
if
couple.
you're paying homage to Joyce, you have to.
There's got to
Yeah,
be
that's
some.
it.
Perhaps I'll
That's it.
bring back the grasshopper.
Yes.
Just
You never left.
Yes.
I'll bring back the grasshopper
And
spizzing.
Festy King will watch.
Fantastic.
What else? The other things that came up, obviously, we had another little play, the Muta and Jufa. We
Hmm.
already talked about that, so it's sort of nice to see him coming. And I realized just as we started that we hadn't mentioned it at the beginning, so hopefully our listeners understood that we were doing that little dialogue. But it's sort of fun that he breaks up the structure in that way, and he also breaks it up in that he mentions both titles of the book within 2 pages of each other. On page 607, he says loves to fun at Finnegan's Wake, obviously reference to the drinking song. And then on page 609, he says, and I could perceive amongst the gatherings, whoever they walk in process. And obviously, originally the title of this book was Work in Progress. So
Very
we
exciting. It's
have,
like in a film where they say the title of the film in the film, and you're like,
yeah.
ooh,
Oh, I'm going to
yeah.
put into the show notes as well. There's this great YouTube video that someone made years ago, which is if the credits of the movie roll when you hear them when you hear the title of the movie. So
Like the
so
Aviator.
yeah, so as soon as the title is said, then the credits start rolling, like the end of the movie. One of the examples that in that is the dinosaurs are roaming in the field, and Richard Attenborough shows up and says "Welcome to Jurassic Park," and then the credits go. It's a fun video, but I'll put that up as well. So yeah, dropping the name of the book there. And speaking of names, one thing I wanted to bring up as well for you, Lucy, in terms
Mm.
of your work, is that there were at least 2, if not more, it could have been more, references to porters in this book. So per porter-roguing, and there was another one later on, and obviously that is Joyce anticipating the Porter Girl series.
I mean,
So
I can't think it could be anything else.
exactly. So
There
this
can be
is your
no other
opportunity.
explanation.
It's your opportunity to tell us all about Portugal and the reference that Joyce is obviously making here.
Okay, so wasn't expecting to talk about them. Okay, so Portugal is a series of books which started as an anonymous blog based on my real life experience as the first female deputy head porter at one of the most famous colleges of Cambridge University. Um, it was inspired by just the randomness of that, which I turned into a 4 series, possibly to be continued, of light-hearted mystery adventure novels. All the bits that seem completely ridiculous, they're the bits that are true. And the bits that everybody thinks are true, I completely made up. So do have a read and see if you can work out which is which.
And we
The
will link to
murders are
all of
mostly made up, but
mostly.
not entirely. I'll
We
leave
will
it at
link to
that.
all of Lucy's books in our show notes, and there's multiple Portugal books, right? There's
There's 4 at the moment
4,
in the series. Yes,
and
there's
more to come.
possibly, yeah. I didn't think there would be, but then a chance encounter in a secondhand bookshop in a abbey near where I live possibly inspired another storyline.
Mm,
So maybe,
yes,
maybe. But
right,
now I've got to write this biddy fan
yeah,
fiction.
or
So
maybe a Da Vinci Code style Portugal that where all the clues are in Finnegan's Wake.
wouldn't that be good? I mean, I've already the
Don't
sort
do
of
this.
the
No.
fourth The fourth Portugal book is based on a quest for the Holy Grail, although it's
Oh,
far
okay,
more Monty Python
right.
than Da Vinci, but Da Vinci Code. But yeah, that's not a bad idea.
No, it's a terrible idea. You can say it. It's fine.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'll think about it.
Think
I'll do
about
it
it.
while I'm
That's
doing
right.
the fan fiction for Biddy the Hen.
Yes.
Hmm.
Look, it is quite late where you are, and we don't want to keep you up all night long. So it's been so great having you here, and we're feeling quite maudlin about the end of Wake and coming up in the coming weeks. But we want to thank you so much for being part of the Wake family. You are a record holder. You hold the record for the most appearances by a British person on the Wake. You hold the world record for the most appearances by a woman on Wake. And you hold the record for the most appearances by an author of a Finnegan's Wake summary book on Wake. So those are records that may not be broken. So
3 records. Well, honestly, it's been an absolute honour and it's been brilliant fun. I really enjoyed meeting you guys. Obviously, talking about the wake is massive, but far more than that. It's just been so good to share our thoughts with your listeners, and I feel I've made some friends. So I hope we meet again in another incarnation somewhere. I mean that as a podcast, not like after we die. Hopefully I won't
I
have
mean,
to
Absolutely.
wait that long.
eventually, Toby and I are just gonna be like, so we're taking the trip, right? And then we will let you know
Absolutely.
when we
We're
do.
going to show up. Yeah.
Of
Yeah.
course, and you must, and that would
Yeah.
be marvelous.
Although one day TJ should get you on to watch watch a children's movie with him on his other podcast.
Oh yeah, that's
Yes.
fine. Just you can just drop me an email for that. I'd be more than happy.
Hey, we have a drink about it, so that's the
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. Well,
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
in. I'm in.
it's been so good to have you here
Been
again, Lucy,
amazing.
and
Been
it's been
amazing.
really, really fun. And we're just so glad that we had this podcast as an opportunity to meet you and to get a chance to get you to help us understand this book a little bit better. And your book certainly helped us. So hopefully it helps more people. And hopefully, if you are interested in Finnegan's Wake out there, please pick up Finnegan's What. If you can find it in your public local library, then pick it up there. Try not to give Jeff Bezos any money. Maybe if you email Lucy directly, she'll be able to sell you one under the
Yeah,
table
or
so
just
that we don't
steal
have
it
to.
from somewhere. I don't
That's
mind.
it.
Royalties are tiny these days. It makes no odds for me.
That's
Just
it.
steal the thing.
Well, that is all the time we have this week for Wake. Once again, we want to thank Lucy Brazier for being here with us for her last foray on the Wake, but not the last time we are going to work together. We're going to put that down right there. And if to find more of Lucy's stuff, look into our show notes. I have been Toby Malone, joined as ever by TJ Young. Thank you, TJ, and happy birthday.
Thank you very much. Thank both of you.
Of course, and enjoy your cake. We'll see you next week, horse riding sailors. This has been Wake, a cold reading of James Joyce's Finnegan's Wake, just to hear it out loud. If you've made it this far, thank you for your dedication. Join us next week for another segment of Finnegan's Wake and a chat about what we've found. Wake is a Moon Street Media podcast, engineered by TJ Young and Toby Malone. Our theme song is The Ballad of Perso Riley, arranged and performed by Meg Logue after James Joyce. Wake is recorded in Canada, where Finnegan's Wake is in the public domain. For community and bonus content, join us at our free Patreon at patreon.com/wakepod. If you have questions about Finnegan's Wake, don't ask us. We're just as confused as you are. See you next week.